Welcome to the Fantasy Showdown. I am Josh. With me is Justin, and we are breaking down Saquon Barkley versus Bijan Robinson going into the redraft season. We did our rankings recently, and we have some different opinions on these two people. So, welcome to the series. This is going to be series throughout the offseason. This is episode 1, Saquon Barkley versus Bijan Robinson. Let's not waste any time. Justin, why do you have Bijan ranked so much higher than me? I don't understand it. Explain yourself.
So I think a lot of it has to do with the dynasty mindset. Everybody thinks younger is always better, but in redraft for running backs, it's not always true. Look at Derrick Henry; he's always a stud. He's always finishing in the top 5, top 10. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about Bijan versus Saquon, and I have Bijan ranked higher than you because not only the age, but the opportunity that he's going to have. If you look at Bijan, he's basically in a whole new offense now. No Arthur Smith. That's a huge bonus for Bijan. It doesn't mean means Tyler Algier is not going to be vulturing all of his yards and touchdowns and touches, period. And then if you go to look, you got a new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, new head coach. All these things are looking up for Bijan. Let's talk about the offense coordinator, Zach Robinson, coming from the Los Angeles Rams, who also had an older quarterback similar to Kirk Cousins with Matthew Stafford. They still ran the ball a lot with Kyron Williams, and Zach Robinson might have been the passing game coordinator, but he still understood the fact that they had to run the ball to be successful with their offense. Looking at Kirk Cousins, he's coming in. You might think Kirk Cousins is just going to launch the ball. He's going to pass a lot. They're not going to run the ball. But if you go back and look at the running back stats for the last 6 years with Kirk Cousins as the quarterback in 2018, they finished as the 23rd best running offense in the league. Dalvin Cook only played 11 of those games. However, in 2019, they finished 4th. 2020, they finished 4th. 2021, they finished 15th. Those are where Cook played most of his games before he fell off as well. In that 6 years, the Minnesota Vikings ran for a total of 9,885 yards, which was an average of a little over 1,600 yards per season. They also scored 76 rushing touchdowns, which gave you just over 12 for the season. Take off some of that average, we're looking at a 1,400 yard and 10 touchdown season on the ground for Bijan. Add in receptions to his game, that's going to make him an even more valuable fantasy asset. I have Bijan ranked at 3. You have Bijan ranked at 5. We're splitting hairs here because there's really not that much in between. But overall, I'm going to take Bijan over Saquon.
I will say this, ADP matters to me. And I believe his ADP for Bijan Robinson was running back 2 going in the first round. To me, that's a little bit too expensive for a running back. And we're talking redraft strategies. And let's face it, ADP is baked into these arguments into my rankings. There's no way I'm taking a running back that high in the first round. But if you're strictly comparing him to Saquon Barkley, he's going in the second round, 22nd overall, going as running back 6, with potential to be running back 1 this season with the Philadelphia Eagles. Bijan Robinson just too pricey for me for almost the same product. I believe you're probably, if Bijan does what he's supposed to do, what's he going to average? About a half point per game better than Saquon? To me, that's not worth spending up the extra draft capital. I can get a Justin Jefferson, a CD Lamb, or an all-star wide receiver there, swing back around and get my running back at Saquon Barkley. That's the biggest argument against Bijan Robinson to me. You mentioned Zach Robinson coming over from the Rams. I'm sorry. He was a passing and quarterback coordinator. He was an assistant quarterback coach. He helped with the wide receivers. He had nothing to do with the running backs. That might be a positive thing, though, because over there in the Los Angeles Rams, they switch running backs every single season. So that right there is a positive in my eyes. And I'm supposed to be the one not defending Bijan. But if you're looking at the previous administration from Los Angeles and the Rams side, it's not good for the running back position. So I don't think Zach Robinson's a plus for Bijan Robinson. But actually, you know what? Anything's a plus over Arthur Smith.
Anything's better than Arthur Smith.
Anything's over.
We can both agree on that.
We can. But the good thing is they kept a running back coach, Michael Petrie. He's been there since 2022, so he's familiar with Bijan Robinson. He's familiar with Tyler Algier. They know what they can do. They know what Algier can bring to the table and what Bijan can bring to the table. So they do have a new head coach, new offense coordinator. They kept the same running back coach, which is huge to me, in my opinion. Atlanta has a massive awesome, amazing offensive line. So it's hard for me to argue against Bijan Robinson. Again, guys, he's a stud. So that's not going to be a problem. If you look at their stats just from last season, Bijan had 976 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Saquon had 962 and 6 touchdowns. Very, very similar. Both bad offenses. Both very, very bad offenses. The difference was, I brought up the offensive line. They had the fourth best rush blocking offensive line in 2023, whereas the Giants, dead. No, not dead last. 29th overall. Congratulations, Giants. You didn't suck all the way. So he was able to do that with the 29th worst or 29th best offensive line. That's a problem to me. Can Bijan really do that in a subpar offensive line? If there's injuries on that offensive line in Atlanta, is he going to be the same person? We've already heard the prospects coming out of college from people at the Finstock Sports Network and others that Bijan isn't the best pure running back. He's the best athlete. Saquon Barkley is a pure running back and the best athlete. You take those two together. That's why I'm taking Saquon Barkley all the way in this situation. Draft capital, new offense, which we're going to get to in a second. And just the unknown of Bijan. We didn't see it yet. We haven't seen 1,000 yards from this guy yet. We didn't even see 1,500 total yards from this guy yet. We haven't even seen 10 total touchdowns in one season from this guy yet. I need to see it happen first before I draft him. And I know projecting forward is a thing in fantasy, and it's very important. That's why he's going to be a first-round pick, and he's awesome. But give me Old Faithful. Give me the guy who's always there, Saquon Barkley. The big knock on Saquon Barkley is his injury concerns. He's injury prone. He can't finish the season. He doesn't understand how to keep healthy. Well, since, I don't know, 3 years ago, which is a good sample size, he's played more games than Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb, James Conner, Alvin Kamara, Ramondre Stevenson, and even Derrick Henry. He's played the same amount of games as DeAndre Swift and Aaron Jones. He's actually very, very healthy in the past 3 years. And that's all that matters to me. He had that 1 year where he missed a ton of time and the year following where he missed a ton of time. Other than that, he's played 13 or more games in every single season since. So if we're really basing his injury-prone status on 2 years, then you're kind of out of touch and you haven't been watching football because he has been a monster the past 2 seasons. Let's go to Sirianni. Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, he has led a top 12 rushing offense 5 out of the last 6 years. He's been an offensive coordinator and or head coach in the league. Yes, he had Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis, but guess what? He's also had Miles Sanders in Philadelphia. Still a top 10 offense or rushing offense in that league. So minimum 70 games since Saquon's been in the league. Only 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs average more rushing yards per game. Those players, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, CMC, Josh Jacobs, then at Saquon Barkley. So you're telling me a guy who's rushing for 70.4 rushing yards per game career is better than a guy like Bijan Robinson who can't even rush for 1,000 yards in a season. Cool. That's all right. It's cool. Let's go to the offenses. He's played for the New York Giants, who's by far the worst offense I've ever seen in my life, ever. For example, they've scored 203 touchdowns since they've drafted Saquon Barkley. 203 touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes has thrown more than that himself. Saquon Barkley has scored 23% of the touchdowns for the New York Giants. He's going to the Eagles, who've scored 287 touchdowns in that time. That's 47 touchdowns a year compared to the Giants' 33, which means more opportunity, more red zone touches, more touchdown opportunities is key for running back. Now, Jalen Hurts, he's going to steal all the touchdowns. I know you're going to bring that up. That's fine. Kelsey's gone. Their center's gone. Their biggest weapon for that tush push is no longer there. And they need to keep Jalen Hurts healthy. And they're understanding that Jalen Hurts is the key to their offense. They got Saquon Barkley for a reason. That reason was to take pressure off of Jalen Hurts, take pressure off the receiver room, take pressure off of Dallas Goedert in the tight end room, and make that a complete team. They don't need to run the tush push. It will be faked, and it will happen. But more likely than not, I do see them handing the ball off to Saquon Barkley in the red zone instead of having their franchise quarterback maybe twisting an ankle, maybe hurting himself doing the tush push. Why not? So for me, at the value in the second round, running back 6, 22nd overall, that's why I have Saquon Barkley ranked ahead of Bijan Robinson, and I will remain that throughout the offseason. Justin, your turn.
You mentioned the tush push and Jason Kelsey being gone really affecting how Jalen Hurts scores those rushing touchdowns over the last 3 seasons when Jalen Hurts has been the main starter, because I'm not going to count his rookie season where he played like 4 games. He has scored a total of 38 touchdowns, 15 last year, 13 the year before, 10 the year before that. As of January 2024, he's only scored 11 tush push touchdowns. That doesn't equal 38. That's 27 less. He's got 27 rushing touchdowns that were not from the tush push. That is going to affect how Saquon Barkley can score. If you want to look at Daniel Jones, everybody says Daniel Jones, he's like a running quarterback. He gets a lot of running touchdowns. He's only scored 10 total touchdowns on the ground in the last 3 seasons. 10 total. Not 38, 10. That's going to affect Saquon Barkley. He's not going to be used to getting down to the goal line and his quarterback running in for the touchdown instead. Let's talk about that Giants offense that has been utterly garbage other than Saquon Barkley being on the team. The only season that he's had any kind of wide receiver threat to take away yards and touchdowns from his game was in 2018, his rookie season with Odell Beckham Jr. Now he's got 2 guys that are even better than Odell Beckham Jr. with both Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown. Throw in Dallas Goedert in there. Throw in Jalen Hurts' rushing upside in there. This doesn't look as good as for Saquon Barkley. Factor in his age. I don't even care about the injuries. He's been fine the last 3 years. The main thing with the injuries is that it happened at the end of the one season. He missed the entire next season, and then he missed the beginning of the following season, which meant he was gone for what seemed like forever. It was like the Christian McCaffrey effect. Christian McCaffrey's recovered fine. Saquon Barkley has also recovered fine. He's missed a couple games here and there. I'm not really worried about the injuries. I'm worried about the potential that Saquon Barkley is actually going to have on the Eagles, whereas he had a lot better opportunity on the Giants than he will with the Eagles. That rushing upside for Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown demanding targets, Devonta Smith demanding targets, Dallas Goedert's going to get his. Where is Saquon Barkley fit into this? Not to mention, we talk about how the Rams just switch running backs wherever they want. You know how Nick Sirianni is. We're going to get down to the 3-yard line, and here comes Boston Scott or Kenneth Gainwell. Not Saquon Barkley. How much is Saquon Barkley's actual potential going to get hurt by the Eagles offense?
You're comparing Saquon Barkley to DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders. That's ridiculous. That's utter ridiculous. That is nonsense. Saquon Barkley is not those 2 players. Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift were just placeholders until they found a Saquon Barkley. And you know what? I am so sick of the comparison of, DeMarco Murray went to the Eagles. That was ages ago. My son wasn't even born yet at that time. Nope, we were just children when that happened. Let's all calm down there. One more final closing statement on Saquon Barkley, and I'll let you have a closing statement on Bijan Robinson. You mentioned the superstar wide receivers he's going to play with. You mentioned the superstar quarterback he's going to play with. You mentioned the superstar tight ends he's going to play with. You didn't mention the superstar offensive line. Projected 4th going into 2024. He's never had an offensive line like this. I'm on record saying that offensive lines don't matter in fantasy football, but they will matter here. Saquon Barkley's never going to see holes like this. He never has. He never will. This will be the one season he blows up. I believe he has potential to be running back 1 this season. I have potential. I think he can win you. I don't think Bijan can win you your league in first round, because the first round's supposed to be safe. But the second round's where you could take risks, and you can get the number 1 overall player in the second round, and that's Saquon Barkley.